Hello, my name is Brian Espinoza, and today I'll be talking about my experience with the P4 Shadow Visit assignment. I want to start off by saying I was assigned to the Codac Health Center, and my facilitator was Dat Nguyen. Um, the main question I'm going to answer today is what does it mean to practice as a pharmacist in this setting? From what I saw, a lot of it is very similar to what you would see in a community practice. So pharmacists are counseling, they're dispensing, and they're addressing interactions that a patient has with their medication list. Um, Another thing too, which is very different to what you're used to seeing in a community setting, is that pharmacists are collaborating in real time with physicians that are on site. What this means is that the pharmacist is able to make recommendations to the physician right there and then. So if a pharmacist considers a medication to be inadequate for the patient's medication regimen, they are able to bring that to the attention of the physician and have them change that, which is very different to anything I'm used to seeing. It's that team that we heard about, that medical team that we've heard so much about, which was to me enlightening to see that it's actually being practiced in the real world. Um, Another thing that I went ahead and asked was, what does a typical day look like in this setting? From what I was told, it's a Monday through Friday job. So that means Saturday and Sunday is off. So that's when they get their breaks. And I really like this because a lot of community pharmacies don't really do that anymore. They're open Monday through Saturday, to put up numbers versus actually serving the community. It's more of a numbers game than it is the clinical game, as we've seen in this transition of big pharma taking over the industry. I also asked how the pharmacist duties are different than any other setting. And what I was told is that since the demographic is very different than what a lot of people see, and when I say demographic, I mean I'm addressing the community that's there. So a lot of the mentally ill run through this pharmacy. This is where they get their meds. This is what moves the medicines in the pharmacy. So what the pharmacist told me is that they're doing a lot of what the community pharmacies are doing. They're counseling, they're dispensing, they're making sure the patient's insurance are covering the meds. They're going on and serving the patient as they would in a community setting. I asked if any additional training was needed, and I was surprised when I was told that no additional training was needed, no additional licensure, no residency. Given that the pharmacists there are on top of everything, they're very sharp, they're on top of their clinical knowledge, and they're able to just bounce back ideas with physicians, which is crazy to think that someone coming straight out of pharmacy school is able to do. When I spoke to the P4 on rotation there, I asked what his or her daily responsibilities were, as well as what hours they work. And I was told, I wasn't surprised when he told me his responsibilities were, the general counseling or the general just filling and dispensing, as you would find. So when I heard that, it's just a generalized thing that an intern does, and the hours were 8 to 5, which is expected. It's sort of sad that you don't get paid for that 8 to 5. I asked what projects he or she did, and it's a he, obviously, Dad. And he told me he did Hep C screening, so this includes going over a list of things to see if a patient is eligible to take this hepatitis C medicine called Harvani. So this is a pamphlet that was given to me. And so basically what he does is he goes over like a drug panel as well as a number of tests about the patient's genotype as well as what they're putting out, their renal output, etc. And he sees if the patient is eligible to take the medicine because this is a genotype-specific medication. So if the patient doesn't have the genotype, they can't take the medicine. I then went ahead and asked if he or she would work there, and he said yes. He said he'd be honored to work at a place like that Monday through Fridays. Typically, you don't find that anywhere else, which is what really encourages him to pick this over other facilities. I then considered this for myself to see if I would do an APPE rotation there, and I would honestly do it. It's a learning experience. You get to learn how to talk to the mentally ill and address questions that would wouldn't necessarily need to be addressed with a patient who isn't mentally ill. Overall, the experience was very rewarding, and I look forward to seeing what this class has to offer.